Welcome back to the channel. Of course, we're talking about Wrexham Football Club. Today I'm going to be bringing you sort of a roundup video as to what's happened at the football club over the past couple of weeks. Of course, we gained promotion. I'm still not over the fact Wrexham Football Club are going to be a championship side next year, and I'm sure all of you at home watching this still kind of got your head around it. But like I said, today we're going to be bringing you some news just regarding the football club. Of course, it's now in the off season, we're in pre-season, so there's going to be stuff happening, transfer rumours, news regarding the football club of Wrexham, and just a lot of news going into this championship campaign. So there'll be a lot to report on this channel, so make sure you are subscribed. We're on the road to 27,000 subscribers, and the season comes to a close, the League One season. It has gone so fast, and it's been a pleasure reporting and following this football club that I've loved for well over a decade now, and to have thousands and thousands of people on board with me means a lot. So thank you for sticking with me on this channel over the past 12 months for the League One season. It's been very magical, of course, on the pitch for Wrexham Football Club and off the pitch for me. And all the likes, the comments, the views, the extra support from you guys at home who are watching this, whether it's the YouTube memberships, the buy me a coffee, just all the new subscriptions, any support you've shown over the course of this season has just been massively appreciated, and I cannot thank you enough. And we're going into a big championship campaign, so make sure you click the red subscribe button. And without further ado, let's get talking Wrexham Football Club. So seeing as we're going into pre-season, it's only right that I report on our pre-season tour. Wrexham Football Club are set to tour Australia and New Zealand. It's all but confirmed, but we're looking at a July time period for this pre-season tour. Mid-July is when we're meant to be touring in Australia, and we're set to play Melbourne Victory at Marvel Stadium, which we all knew, and Sydney FC, but it's still to be confirmed what venue that game will be hosted at. The Allianz Stadium and the Accor Stadium are the two stadiums that are under consideration, and a third game of the tour is likely to be hosted in New Zealand, and the tour is locked in for mid-July. So for all the Australian fans out there, we're playing Melbourne Victory and Sydney FC, two well-regarded teams in the A-League down in Australia, so it'll be good to see us tap into that market that has been untapped, of course, since the takeover. We've been to Canada, we've been to America, we've targeted the main audiences of the Welcome to Wrexham documentary, and as Rob McElhenney said, Australia was third on that list, so it seems strategic to go over there, and let's hope we can see tens and thousands of fans turn up to watch Wrexham against Sydney FC and of course Melbourne Victory. And of course the game that is going to be happening in New Zealand, we're yet to see who we will play in there, but you're looking at, since the takeover, Wrexham AFC have toured Spain, Canada, America, Australia and New Zealand. That is very crazy when you put it into consideration that there have been tens and thousands of fans that have turned up every single time to watch Wrexham Football Club in these countries. Rob and Ryan have done so much for this football club. So if you are in Australia and if you are around the Melbourne or the Sydney area, make sure you've got the 15th of July booked off, because that is when we're meant to play Melbourne Victory, and keep your eye on later in the week because it looks like we could be playing Sydney FC right after. And talking on the historical players that have written their name into the history books, not only at Wrexham Football Club but in English Football League history, we're going to be talking about the players at Wrexham FC. Now we've got some interesting news. The players in the Wrexham squad are set to split £1.45 million amongst them in player bonuses after securing promotion to the Championship. Thoroughly deserved. I think it works out about £50,000 per player, but that's on average if you split it between the whole players in the squad. But I'm sure appearances might come into play, but they all deserve it after an excellent season, of course, giving us, as the fans, tens and thousands of us, probably the best season we'll ever see at this football club in years and years to come, and probably the best seasons that the younger generation will probably see in a long time. So it's well deserved, and it's fair to say they'll be having themselves a very good summer. So this is what you've clicked on the video to see, and it does not disappoint. We have got some incredible bit of information, and some information 5 years ago when the first takeover first happened we never really thought would have been possible, and we never really processed the fact that Wrexham Football Club could rise to be sort of, you could say, an English Football League giant in terms of club valuation. Football finance expert Kieran Maguire has valued Wrexham Football Club following promotion to the Championship at a staggering £150 million, a 7,400% increase on what Rob and Ryan paid for the football club in February of 2021, which of course was £2 million. So they've grown from £2 million, their initial investment, to just grow Wrexham as a global franchise and a global, brand to £150 million. A simply breathtaking sentence to read out, considering as well just 14 years ago Wrexham Football Club were at our lowest point, needing to raise £100,000 just to secure our status as a football club. So to think 14 years on from raising 100,000, we're now valued at 150 million is just mesmerising, and I dare you at home to try and find the right words to describe how remarkable that is. And if there's any non-Wrexham fans watching this, you will understand that, okay, you might say of recent times, you know, how Wrexham have gone up the English football leagues, it might not be a fairy tale in terms of money spent, but it is a fairy tale in terms of the long-term history at the football club, where it has been, you know, the heights that we reached in Europe, you know, the Welsh Cups, how many times we've won that, the amount of times we were in Division 2, to go to, you know, relegation to the National League, struggling to survive as a football club, to then back on the rise. It is genuinely ridiculous, and I think, you know, the neutral football fans will look at this from the outside and think it is an incredible story. A scenario that football finance expert Kieran Maguire compared it to was when Ipswich Town were at the top end of the Championship and were valued at £100 million in February of 2024, of course, whilst competing in the Championship, the league Wrexham are in next season. And he said a good start to the season for Wrexham Football Club this year in the Championship could see our number rise 50% more than what Ipswich Town were valued at £100 million due to the Rob and Ryan factor. Of course, we know this season Wrexham Football Club are going to get a fair share of, you know, TV revenue. We're going to be on television a lot, and that's not me wanting to sound big-headed or anything, but ever since the takeover happened, you know, the television, Sky Sports, BT Sports have loved putting us on the telly. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of Monday nights, a lot of Friday nights at Wrexham Football Club next season, due to them wanting to get the television rights, because there is a massive audience that will watch Wrexham no matter what, whether it's in the UK or abroad. So I think we're going to see our fair share of TV income, and of course just sponsorships. The sponsorship value at Wrexham Football Club now is through the roof, and we could be looking at between 40-50 million. I don't think I'm even unreasonable in saying that, because we saw last season it was plus £20 million, so it is genuinely ridiculous. And him saying that we could be valued at £150 million, do I dare say, is not unrealistic, because this football club is just continuing to break the boundaries and continue to just rise and rise and rise, whether that be on the pitch, you know, with the players getting results and getting promotions, and off the pitch financially securing these big sponsorship deals that is just helping this club continue to rise. And of course we've got the documentary coming out in a couple of weeks' time. I think it might actually be 2 weeks' time, or less than 2 weeks now, so that is going to be a big hit, of course, after promotion to the Championship. So it's going to be an interesting season next year for Wrexham Football Club, and one I am massively looking forward to. And just keeping on the fact of mind-blowing sentences I'm going to be reading out, Sky Sports have reported that Wrexham Football Club are expected to flex our financial muscles this summer and are likely to be amongst the big spenders outside the Premier League once the transfer window opens. Yes, you've heard that right, and yes, I'm going to say we're going to have to repeat that. Wrexham Football Club are set to be one of the biggest spenders outside of the Premier League. And they've also reported Wrexham are likely to target similar players to the likes of recently relegated Leicester City, Ipswich Town and Southampton, and some of the smaller teams in the Premier League, which again is just crazy. And of course, money doesn't guarantee success, but you could say in this Wrexham fairy tale story that money has brought happiness amongst the fans. But if we're looking at recruitment, I think we have to get it spot on. If we are going to be spending a lot of money, I think we have to spend it correctly, and we've got to spend it in a way that you're bringing in players that are going to help this club and the squad that we do already have flourish even further, because we've got a lot of good players in this squad, and any players that are coming into this club are going to have to fight for their spot. And of course, if we're looking at spending in the Championship next season, Wrexham will be able to spend more freely in the Championship compared to League One. So incomings could be more frequent for Wrexham, but I don't think we'll spend for the sake of it, and I don't think we have done, of course, in previous seasons. If you look at since the takeover happened in 2021, a lot of people think Wrexham have spent millions upon millions. I think I saw in transfer fees we'd spent 5.9 million, so we've done very well to get from the National League to the Championship in less than £6 million. Of course, some teams can do it in less, but if you're looking at Wrexham, just how quickly we did that rise, and I think it's testament to Parky and the group of players that have been there since day one. So yeah, it's going to be a busy transfer window, and one that, you know, you sort of go into the transfer windows we have done in League One and League Two in the National League, and you've got an indication of who you're going to sign. But now we're a Championship club, we still don't know, do we have that pull power of bringing players from the Premier League down to play in the Championship for Wrexham? Of course, Parky said he's had multiple agents on the phone from players wanting to join Wrexham Football Club, so it's fair to say it's going to be busy. There's going to be a lot of work to do behind the scenes, a lot of scouting reports, and hopefully continue our ambitions to reach the Premier League. And talking on current players and players that have been there since day one, Ollie Palmer and Paul Mullin. Now, despite not playing a role, either of them, since late January, Parky has said Mulls and Ollie will always be legends at this club for what they've done. They're under contract next year and they'll be back in pre-season ready to go again. Now, Parky, this is the first time he has commented on the situation on both Paul Mullin and Ollie Palmer, and in my opinion he's done it at the completely right time. Of course, leading up to this, we didn't want this to sort of take over and distract us from stuff that was currently going on in the squad. Of course, in that massive race for promotion, we didn't want any distractions, and finally has burst the bubble on the two pair situations, at the football club. So I think this is a well thought out situation from Parky, and he picked the right time to talk on it. So I think it is going to be interesting what happens in the transfer window. Of course, you've got to take this with a pinch of salt. Saying they'll be back in pre-season ready to go again, yes, everyone's going to be back in pre-season, aren't they? We're not going to see a signing happen before even a ball's been touched in pre-season, especially with the likes of Paul Mullin and Ollie Palmer. So I still think there's a chance one of them could go. Of course, a lot of people are saying Paul Mullin, needs that pre-season, that full pre-season under his belt to get back to the striker that he has been for Wrexham Football Club. So it'll be interesting to see, does he get a full pre-season and does he get a look in next season in the squad in the Championship for Wrexham? Ollie Palmer, on the other hand, it's a tough situation to call because he played such a big part in the first half of the League One campaign and just completely vanished out of the matchday squad, and that's no fault of his own. I thought he had a very good first half of the season, but we're in the Championship now. We can't really hold on to sentimental value for players. We need the best players possible, players that are going to help us succeed even further. And whether Ollie Palmer is Championship quality, whether he will be in the squad, and whether he'll be happy continuing what he did for the second half of the season is another question. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you think Ollie Palmer and Paul Mullin will leave Wrexham Football Club, or do you think one of them will go? And if you do, let me know who you think will go. And yeah, of course, there's been names floating around in the transfer rumour mill. Of course, we've just ended the season. There's going to be names floating around. I've got a transfer video coming out in the next couple of days. We've been linked with Ryan Hardy from Plymouth, who we linked with in the January transfer window. Lyndon Gooch, who's just been released from Stoke City. We've also been linked with Callum Robinson from Cardiff City. So it's going to be a bumper pack transfer video in the next videos to come. So make sure you click the red subscribe button and the notification bell so you are notified, of course, when that video does come out. But that's it from me. That's all it from the Wrexham talk. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Are you looking forward to Wrexham going to Australia and New Zealand on our pre-season tour? And yeah, make sure to subscribe, like, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you in another video. Take care, guys. Up the promotion, winning Reds. It still hasn't sunk in that Wrexham Football Club will be one league away from the Premier League next season. Absolutely ridiculous.